usajili wa Kenya ambao wangependa kujiunga nao kama wanajeshi. Zoezi hili litafanyika mwezi Oktoba mwaka huu. Usajili ambao utafanyika ni wa General Service Officers GSO, Cadets Regular and Graduates, Specialist Officers, General Duty Recruits, Tradesmen and Women na Defense Forces Constables. Je, una ndoto za kutumikia taifa la Kenya kama mwanajeshi? Kwa maelezo zaidi, tegea KBC Radio Taifa tarehe 20 mwezi huu wa Septemba, punde tu baada ya taarifa ya habari ya saa 1 usiku. Kadhalika, kwa maelezo zaidi ya wale ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya, tembelea tovuti ya www.mod.go.ke. Kumbuka, tendo la hongo na ufisadi wa aina yoyote ni kinyume cha sheria na hakuna anayeweza kushawishi usajili wako, kwani zoezi hili ni la bila malipo kwa wale wote ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya. Ukikubali kuadaiwa, utapoteza pesa na mali yako na kuishia korokoroni.
Well, a very good evening to you. Thank you very much for watching KBC Channel 1. It is time for Prime Edition this evening. And today, learning in public universities remains paralyzed as staff strike enters the second day, as well as remote areas are set to receive mobile connectivity in a project that is in its fourth phase. The details of that and more are coming up tonight on Prime Edition. But first, here are the highlights. Disruptions. Learning in public universities across the country paralyzed as lecturers and non-teaching staff strike enters day 2. Muite disembarks from Safina. Political firebrand and seasoned senior lawyer Paul Muite hangs his political boots.
In our lifetime, it is possible to move this country from the third world of today to first world.
From fragility to stability, President Ruto says he has stabilized Kenya's economy, which he says was fragile at the time of his becoming the head of state. It's unstoppable. Treasury CS John Badi says the shift to e-procurement in government will go on in spite of all obstacles. My name is Betty Kiptum and Lensa Odingo is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Now, President William Ruto has defended steps taken by his administration to stabilize the country's economy, having taken over from what he described as a fragile economy 3 years ago. The head of state said despite numerous challenges, the government has made significant progress in addressing insecurity in various parts of the country: agriculture, healthcare, education, and electricity connectivity, among others.
Speaking Thursday in Nairobi during the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya 50th Jubilee Celebration Conference, President Ruto spoke of firm faith in the effort put by his administration so far to develop the nation, adding that while many Kenyans initially doubted his government's commitment, tangible results can now be seen.
I walk by faith Many walk by sight. They say, we have not seen. You are lying, we have not seen. So that's the disconnect sometimes I do have, because it takes time for people to see. But let me promise you that the commitments we made, by God's grace, those who did not see are beginning to see. You cannot hide the houses anymore.
He urged Kenyans to ignore naysayers who he said are out to derail reforms meant to transform the nation.
We have wasted a lot of time making peace with mediocrity, working with the average, when God wants us to be excellent. So, and let me tell you, in our lifetime, it is possible to move this country from the third world of today to first world.
The president spoke of his administration's promise of universal health coverage, which he said is on course, with more than 27 million people having already registered under the new Social Health Authority, despite facing sharp criticism.
And I want to tell you that slowly and surely, the missions, the people who run hospitals are coming around. They were complaining SHA is not working. They graduated and said, yes, it's working, but. Slowly, we are refining it, and I promise you, by God's grace, it will be possible for each and every citizen of Kenya to be treated and paid for without the burden of selling their properties to be able to meet their medical expenses.
He also lauded progress achieved through the implementation of the affordable housing program.
Do you know how much contracts we have signed in the housing program? Contracts worth 600 billion, using our own money.
Joseph Wahungu for Prime Edition.
On e-procurement matters now, the government is standing its ground on implementation of the electronic government procurement system, with Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi saying the digital shift is unstoppable. Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Implementation, CS Mbadi defended the 387 million shillings platform acquired in 2022 as cheaper than IFMIS and designed to cut costs, curb graft and support small traders.
The government has ruled out any backtracking on the electronic government procurement system to manual, insisting the digital platform will transform public procurement despite resistance from some entities.
By next week, we don't want to hear any excuses. In fact, some of the challenges we are facing is officers, procuring officers who don't want to do what they should do.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary, who defended the system as the future of procurement in the country, told the committee that the platform is already operational in 22 state corporations and 4 counties.
Why couldn't we go with the e-procurement, just continue with the e-procurement and discourage the manual way of working? Because there is a way in the e-procurement that had accommodated the local contractors in such a way that they could be able, anything less than 3 million, there is a way they could be accommodated, but electronically still. So I don't know why we had to go to Egypt.
There will be pushback, but there must be push forward. And that push forward must just come from the government.
When pressed by members on whether the pressure to roll out the system in July was occasioned by external lenders.
This system, the advantages outweighs the manual system. What we are just saying is your plan of implementation. And I want you to assure this committee, it is not because of Washington pressure that you must implement this so that there's some funding to be released.
Because the funds were released in the month of June, some even in July, and you want them to comply to a system that you've not trained them on. So you've shut down the entire country for this period. That is the challenge you're facing, both in court and even with the House.
Washington pressure, not at all. By the way, the World Bank only helped us in funding the reform. And they have done a lot, even if IFMIS was funded through the development partners.
Mbadi further assured members of parliament that the government is committed to addressing any shortcomings along the way, maintaining that the digital shift will revolutionize how public resources are managed.
If we have challenges, we will come back and tell you there are challenges here, help us unlock them. But I want to dissuade the honorable members from even imagining for a minute that manual system can be competitive. It is not. I want to plead with this committee, please support this EGP system.
And the High Court has stopped Parliament from forwarding the Constitution Amendment Bill to President for the assent pending determination of a petition filed by Katiba Institute. Delivering the ruling, Justice Lawrence Mugambi stated the risks identified in the impunged bill were not idle arguments but raised weighty constitutional questions warranting judicial consideration. And as Ruth Wamboi reports, the case has now been referred to the Chief Justice to appoint an even bench of judges to hear and determine the petition.
It is back to the drawing board for the August House after the court halted its process of taking the Constitution Amendment pushed to the President for signing. On Thursday, when the matter came up for a ruling, Judge Mugambi held the doctrine of ripeness could not apply in the case, affirming that the court has jurisdiction to hear and determine the dispute. The judge has referred the file to the Chief Justice Martha Koome to appoint an uneven number of judges to hear and determine the petition.
This petition, a conservatory order is hereby issued forbidding and or preventing the forwarding of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment 2025 to the President for assent, and if assented to, the same shall not take effect until the instant petition is heard and determined.
Yes, Your Honor.
Elsewhere, the Anti-Corruption Court has directed the prosecution to supply evidential material within 30 days in the 31 million shillings corruption case facing former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati and 18 others.
Your Honor, the reason why we are seeking for the adjournment is that we will need the documents so that we have an indication on the case load. The number of witnesses they intend to
come. June, we undertake to supply hard copies of the bundles. Mr. Wanyama had requested 7. I don't know they can accept 5 or you insist on 7.
Defense lawyer Peter Wanyama told the court that they are not ready for pre-trial directions as crucial documents had not been supplied by ESSA.
October 2025 at exactly 9 to confirm compliance and for further directions of the court, including fixing hearing dates.
And in Kilifi, a Malindi court has allowed detectives to continue holding 4 suspects of the Binzaro cult for a further 60 days to allow for investigations to be completed.
The applicant has demonstrated a need for the time, and that is commensurate with the gravity and complexity of the offences under investigation. Therefore, the prayer for 60 days in the circumstances is reasonable and proportionate.
Principal Magistrate Joy Shiundu ordered police to detain all the suspects believed to be behind the killing of 32 people's bodies were exhumed last month at the Binzaro in Kilifi County.
That the applicant shall ensure the respondents' rights as enshrined in the Constitution are upheld during the detention, that the investigation shall file a status report on investigation every 3 weeks until expiry of the 60 days.
The matter is slated for 2nd October this year. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
The political parties across the divide had a busy day Thursday with the November mini-poll date fast approaching. Safina Party leader, Senior Counsel Paul Muite, officially ended his tenure as the party leader, handing over the reins of leadership to businessman Jimmy Wanjigi. This as the Eugene Wamalwa-led Democratic Action Party announced unionist Seth Panyako as the party's flag bearer to contest for the Malava constituency MP seat in the November poll. John Jacob Kuria with the details as political parties strategize to clinch seats in the upcoming by-election.
Politicians kept a busy diary party Thursday with less than 3 months left to the November 27th by-election. At the waterfront grounds along Gong Road in Nairobi, these were the scenes as the multi-party democracy icon Paul Muite hung his boots as Safina Party leader.
Inamuelekea Mheshimiwa Paulo Muite.
In his farewell speech as he handed over the mantle to businessman Jimmy Wanjigi,
He is handing over officially.
Muite hailed the transition, attended by hundreds of youthful delegates, as a pivotal point in the party's journey to broaden its appeal. He urged the incoming leadership to remain vigilant as the country prepares for the 2027 general elections.
This is the time for Safina to give leadership on the issue of voter suppression.
Jimmy Wanjigi, now party leader, with lawyer Willis Otieno as his deputy, pledged to steer Safina Party towards the path of accountability and be defenders of Kenya's economic rights.
Sisi tukiingia namna hii, serikali ya Safina, hatutalipa hiyo deni. Deni bandia hatutalipa. Mukiwa primary school, mukiwa high school, hakuna mambo ya bursary, hakuna mambo ya school fees.
Meanwhile, DAPK has formally unveiled Seth Panyako as its preferred candidate to contest for Malava constituency MP. This coming amid uncertainty on whether Panyako has officially resigned from his role at LAPFund.
Seth Panyako is immensely qualified to run for that election. The by-election that is coming, our legal teams have already responded to the misguided position that said Panyako is a state officer. He's a representative of workers on a body, but he's not a state officer himself.
I want to assure the party and the people of Malava that I'm equal to the task.
But as Panyako was enjoying the free will to vie for Malava by-election by his party, another aspirant under the same party, Caleb Brody, called for a press briefing in a Kakamega hotel to protest the Nairobi move.
And I'm expecting that the party will organize for the primaries. But even before that, I had made a petition that we are only two of us, me and Seth Panyako, who had not resigned as we speak today from the position he holds at the LAPFund.
However, his briefing ended prematurely, disrupted by suspected goons. And in preparation to celebrate its 20th anniversary next month, the ODM party has lined up a series of activities, including a football knockout tournament, youth and women conventions, and a free 4-day medical camp in Mombasa and Kilifi counties. John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
Now, learning in public universities across the country has been paralyzed for the second day in a row following the ongoing strike involving lecturers and university staff. The Dons have remained grounded on their push to demand the release of 2.73 billion shillings under the second phase of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement and 7.9 billion shillings from the 2017 to 2021 CBA. At the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, University Academic Staff Union officials, led by their chair, Dr. Muiga Rugara, have called on members to remain steadfast and not to bow to intimidation, even as the Dons dig in their heels over what they describe as years of betrayal by government.
The government at the moment owes us 15-month arrears. The least a university staff is owed here is 200,000, and the highest a university staff is owed here is over 1 million shillings. And the government has audacity to pay 10,000 shillings to people without any budget at the State House. And therefore, we are demanding our right.
The government can be able to afford to spend such colossal amount of money every day in name of empowerment. And yet, they are not civil enough to honor a very simple agreement with the university workers, which amounts to about 2.73 billion. And we are saying, then we must take the government of the day to account.
Na kutoka hapa, tunaendelea na hii mkomo. Kama kuna wanafunzi wako hii university, tunawaomba watulie na wakizidi warudi kwa mama zao na baba zao nyumbani.
And to security matters, emergence of goons and gangs terrorizing residents in Nyanza and western regions, as well as harassment of fisherfolk in Lake Victoria waters, dominated conversations during the 42nd Jukwaa la Usalama Security Tour. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kiptum Murkomen, who is in Kisumu for the Citizens Forum, warned that the government will not condone the use of goons for political expediency, cautioning against illegal activities. Giverson Minor now reports.
Kisumu County on Thursday played host to the 42nd edition of the Jukwaa la Usalama Security Tour. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kiptum Murkomen used the platform to declare a crackdown on political goons, gangs and their ringleaders. He warned the emergence of these groupings was a threat to national security, especially in Western Kenya and Nyanza.
The use of some of the border operators by criminal gangs to carry out their criminal activities. And what's important is to have clarity in regulating them with their uniform, self-regulation, areas of operation. But also it's important for the county government to take charge of its responsibility as in providing transport here. And the National Police Service can help them where there is goons or gangs are taking over bus stages and other places.
The CS also sounded a warning to perpetrators of defilement, a vice that was on the rise in Nyanza.
Part of the reasons why it's prevalent is because of repugnant practices, including disco matanga, including wife inheritance, including issues that related to broken family ties. And this as the people who defile our children are those whom they expect greater protection.
The latest incidents occurred on Wednesday in Suba North, Homa Bay County, where a 17-year-old girl was defiled and murdered.
The Inspector General of Police has already sent us a team from the headquarters to support the county team to make sure that we get to the bottom of that act that happened yesterday.
Murkomen also waded into the impasse between the National Police Service Commission and the National Police Service, which was a bottleneck in the planned police recruitment. The CS also assured the fisherfolk who decried alleged harassment by police officers from neighboring Uganda that Kenya will deploy a specialized police unit along Lake Victoria to keep the peace. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition, in Kisumu County.
And on that note, Prime Edition takes its first break. When we come back, more news, including a conversation on food fortification. Do stay with us.
Every glass of milk tells a story of care, quality, and goodness from the farm to your table. At the Kenya Dairy Board, we ensure that every drop you drink is fresh, safe, and wholesome from licensed dairy business operators you can trust. Milk is nature's pure gift, packed with calcium for strong bones, protein for growth, and vitamins to keep you healthy and active. Always look for dairy products permitted by the Kenya Dairy Board, KDB, your guarantee for safe and quality milk and dairy products. From our children to our adults, from breakfast to bedtime, the goodness of milk powers every moment. The Kenya Dairy Board, world-class dairy regulator committed to quality, safety, and national pride.
Jeshi la Ulinzi la Kenya KDF linawatangazia zoezi la usajili wa Kenya ambao wangependa kujiunga nao kama wanajeshi. Zoezi hili litafanyika mwezi Oktoba mwaka huu. Usajili ambao utafanyika ni wa General Service Officers GSO, Cadets Regular and Graduates, Specialist Officers, General Duty Recruits, Tradesmen and Women na Defense Forces Constables. Je, una ndoto za kutumikia taifa la Kenya kama mwanajeshi? Kwa maelezo zaidi, tegea KBC Radio Taifa tarehe 20 mwezi huu wa Septemba, punde tu baada ya taarifa ya habari ya saa 1 usiku. Kadhalika, kwa maelezo zaidi ya wale ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya, tembelea tovuti ya www.mod.go.ke. Kumbuka, tendo la hongo na ufisadi wa aina yoyote ni kinyume cha sheria na hakuna anayeweza kushawishi usajili wako, kwani zoezi hili ni la bila malipo wale wote ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya. Ukikubali kuadaiwa, utapoteza pesa na mali yako na kuishia korokoroni.
From the depths of the sea to the heart of the land, Kenya's coastal region is transforming.
Hii barabara ikiisha ita create a very big impact.
Hapa kuna kazi ambazo zitawaboost, ambazo zitawaepusha na mabalaa huko nje ya kuiba, ukora.
In the framework of the 1 million acres that need to come under irrigation food production, this project is part of that.
Tunashukuru serikali sasa kutuletea mradi huu wa umeme na tupate mafriza tuweze kuweka samaki zetu badala ya kwenda kutoka baharini uvuke uende Simoni.
Through strategic national investments, lives are changing. Hope is rising and the promise of prosperity is being fulfilled.
But if she was just... Shut up. Who is older between you and her?
Dad, I'm sorry. It's all my fault.
How do I even know that? Oh, okay.
Nimepatia both views. So as you can see, kila kitu yenye hauna iko hapa.
Yeah.
Kwanza, hebu sikiza hivi. There's a new sheriff in town.
Nani huyo?
Si unaongea naye?
Yaani Matsu ndio umepandishwa cheo?
Almost. Bado.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Now, the government has reaffirmed its commitment to rehabilitate and reintegrate street families back to society. Speaking during an outreach program at Don Bosco Boys Center, Cabinet Secretary for Gender, Culture and Children's Services, Hannah Kiptum, said there is need for collective action in addressing the plight of street families who remain among the most vulnerable members of society. The event highlighted ongoing initiatives including vocational training in tailoring, carpentry, agriculture and pig rearing, as well as sports programs designed to nurture talent and build confidence among rescued boys.
Street families remain among the most vulnerable groups in our society. They face daily challenges such as lack of access to Medicare, exposure to harsh weather, lack of statutory documents, the IDs and the rest, insecurity, stigma, and limited access to opportunities. Yet behind every child, youth or adult on the street lies a story of resilience, potential, and hope. It is therefore our duty as a government, partners, and citizens to extend not only compassion, but also concrete action that restores dignity and empowers street families for a better tomorrow.
The main objective of this is to encourage those who are in the streets to come and have a family and be reintegrated back to the society.
We don't give them money, cash. We buy them equipment so that, and we pay the house for 6 months so that they can start their business. Some of them, they have already succeeded.
Now, the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning is conducting a training on the National Stamp Duty module, targeting officers and stakeholders from 7 counties that include Uasin Gishu and Nandi. The training seeks to sensitize both internal and external users on the Ardhi Sasa platform and the stamp duty module. In leading the exercise, Director, National Land Information Management System, that is Monica Obongo, says the module is a critical milestone in streamlining land administration. The module integrates with the Ardhi Sasa platform to improve the documentation, efficiency, accuracy and transparency of land transactions, including land transfers. The initiative is supported by the Food and Agriculture Organization and European Union Digital Land Governance, which has been instrumental in strengthening digitization efforts across the country.
Targets last financial year. We were given a target of 17 billion, but we only managed to get 16 billion. This financial year, we were given a target of 19 billion, and I'm confident that this module is going to help us achieve that target. And monies collected from stamp duty go to the exchequer. So they are used actually for the general development projects in the entire country.
So with this in place, we eliminate largely the paper form to a large extent, so that all activities will be in electronic form. If somebody has to check something, they'll be able to check at the touch of a button.
The government has set aside 50 billion shillings towards rejuvenating the Nairobi River and tackling the problem of pollution due to dysfunctional sewers. Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Julius Korir says the funds will be used to set up and expand sewer lines, as well as put concrete and widen Nairobi River banks.
The Cabinet Secretary revealed that part of the Nairobi River's basin rehabilitation and restoration project will mitigate pollution of the river by connecting residential areas to sewer lines. Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Julius Korir says the project targets informal settlements like Korogocho, Mathare and Kibra to treat over 60,000 cubic meters of wastewater daily.
These are the towns or the areas that came after as Nairobi expanded, and the expansion has been faster than the rate of expanding the sewerage in Nairobi. So this project was coming to connect those Nairobians to the sewerage, and it is targeting to treat over 60,000 cubic meters of wastewater per day.
While the sensitization program in Dagoretti North, Korir said the project is 90% complete, with a projected completion date of December 2025.
This involves widening the river, concreting and protecting the banks, and then installing double sewer lines on both sides of the banks, so that now we can be connecting our sewer to that.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry has launched the Kenya National Bamboo Development Strategy and Action Plan 2025-2035 during the World Bamboo Day at the University of Kabianga in Kericho County. Cabinet Secretary Deborah Mulongo Barasa highlighted the strategy's role in transforming bamboo into a key component in enhancing climate resilience and industrial growth.
As a country, we've known that there are various importance of bamboo trees, but we've not been able to venture into it in a vast way that can benefit the people of Kenya. And that is why the ministry developed the strategy, which will be launched today as we move towards implementation and scaling up bamboo growth, as well as looking at value addition so that Kenyans can benefit from this.
This will be achieved through engaging investors to commercialize bamboo and realize its economic potential.
And it's now time for the business news. Remote areas in Samburu, Isiolo, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa and Kilifi are set to be connected with mobile network connection under the 4th phase of the Universal Service Fund project. The initiative is part of ongoing efforts to widen access to communication, financial services and government platforms across Kenya. Here is Trevor Ngendo with the details.
For most Kenyans, mobile phone, money and internet services are part of their daily life. But in northern Kenya, many people have long struggled to get connected, often walking for hours, climbing trees or standing on hills just to get a signal.
Sasa hapa kwetu ile shida tuko na shida ya network. Alafu pia network tuna hata mahali ya tukipata shida yoyote hatuna kitu tunatafuta network. Tunaenda mpaka juu ya ile mlima. Tunatafuta sana network. Na tunataka tena network mzuri. Tunataka tena kwa ajili tuna M-Pesa.
This has been the reality because of the vast distances, low population and nomadic way of life, which make it costly for mobile companies to build network towers. Now things are changing thanks to the Universal Service Fund that's financing the setting up of telecommunication network coverage in remote areas.
You can imagine Sabare sublocation that we have been visiting is 4 times the size of Nairobi County. And it's just a sublocation under an assistant chief, the leaders of the people. They go to the people and ask them, what do you want us to bring? They say, before even you promise us roads and everything, first bring us network. Then we can talk. So you can imagine, the network is the first thing people want, after which now all these other developments are following.
The Universal Service Fund Kitty, which was set up in 2013, is managed by the Communications Authority of Kenya and draws cash from mobile telecom operators, government support and donor contributions.
It's not for the faint-hearted because remember at that time there is no network. You are doing a completely new infrastructure in a place where there was none. That includes climbing some hills, spending in some very uneasy places, but nevertheless that has to be done.
After we've put out, we've connected a mast, we see emergence of small shops. They're using M-Pesa. Then because with those shops there is an establishment of small towns, we see schools. Schools, they use the internet in teaching. Then within a short time we have towns and the whole community starts transforming their lives.
Parts of Marsabit, Turkana, Baringo and West Pokot counties have been connected under the first 2 phases of the Universal Service Fund project. For many residents, they can make calls easily, use mobile money or access the internet without having to travel far in search of a signal.
We are now able to open up everywhere. We are here in Marsabit County, Northeastern, and also in Turkana and Baringo and West Pokot. Those areas have been opened up. There are places that you could not be able to communicate before.
According to the Communications Authority of Kenya, the first 3 phases of the project have cost 4 billion shillings and connected more than 500 sublocations. The initiative is now entering the 4th phase, targeting underserved counties such as Samburu, Isiolo, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa and Kilifi. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Now, artificial intelligence is expected to enhance the speed, intelligence and efficiency of planning and building processes in the built environment. Public Works Chief Architect David Waititu says the technology is transforming the way architects, engineers and other professionals collaborate and execute projects in the built environment sector. Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors Chair Sylvester Muli has also called for collaboration between the public and private sectors to pull together to address challenges facing the industry.
Intelligence revolution is fast changing the way projects are conceptualized, designed and implemented in all sectors. Tools like Midjourney and ArchiCAD or building information modeling software have become key in helping architects and quantity surveyors visualize ideas at the very beginning of a project. Speakers attending the Continuous Professional Development Seminar organized by the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors have called for more collaboration between public and private sector players to enhance the growth of the sector.
You've seen these ones, the technology, the AI and all that, where by the time a client is coming to you, he has already Googled, and here you are giving them something and they'll be looking at it and critiquing it even before you have presented this, because they have already done so much of these things. So technology is coming, it's helping, but you also need to be ahead of it.
Public Works Chief Architect David Waititu says the government is collaborating with the professionals in the built environment to enhance training of professionals on the new National Building Code 2024.
Even when you're now an auditor is auditing some of these buildings, they need somebody so that when you're talking over D20, you are not telling somebody who does not understand.
The new code incorporates provisions for sustainable materials, modern technologies, and disaster resilience. Built environment professionals are some of the experts who are majorly affected by the new code, which calls for proper upskilling.
If the budding architects, quantity surveyors, and other built environment professionals who are observing you are seeing sins, that is not mentorship, that is condemnation.
Of course, those unemployed are largely our brothers and sisters who are younger than us, and that the university continues to churn out. It is an effort that needs to be for all of us to try and find a solution to this problem.
The seminar's objectives include harnessing best practices for the built environment, sensitizing on strategic branding approaches, and maximizing the use of technology and sustainability in various aspects of the construction industry. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
And Transport Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir is calling for full operationalization of the Road Safety Fund to finance road safety programs such as digitization and marking of roads to reduce road accidents. Here is Benson Rioba with the details.
National Transport and Safety Authority data shows that 3,307 fatalities were recorded between January and September 2025, which is 28 more than what was recorded during the same period last year. To reduce road fatalities, the ministry is calling for more allocations to the Road Safety Fund to fully operationalize the kitty. Transport Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir says the fund is key in rolling out road safety programs that include road design changes.
Moving forward, our roadmap shall include key measurable strategies to address road safety concerns such as operationalization of the multi-agency governance framework, securing sustainable financing through Road Safety Fund and other means, scaling up risk targeting and black spot intervention.
An audit has been carried out on 750 kilometers of road nationwide, with plans ongoing to fit the mapped roads with signage, speed bumps, and critical safety barriers.
It's not just for the sake of submitting the report. We'll act on it and make sure we support us to ensure that there are markings on roads, there are bump signages and critical safety barriers for road users.
To enhance road safety, the State Department of Roads will submit detailed programs on road marking, signage, and modernization next month.
We also want to make sure that we use cameras and technology to implement the minor traffic offences rules of 2016. As you are aware, that those rules have 37 different offences, and we must make sure that we use, yes, the police, but we also use on technology.
Plans are also underway to integrate NTSA, the National Police Service, Health, Insurance, and County Systems Road Safety Database.
Driving license right now you will see that it has a chip. The chip will be able to store the information of the driver. It can be used to earn merits and demerits points, and it can also be used as a payment wallet and also be linked to cameras that will be rolled out in this country.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Kenya is hosting the first Waste, Electrical and Electronic Equipment Innovation Summit to amplify calls for more commitments in addressing the growing challenge of e-waste management. Delegates are being sensitized on electric waste collection models, scalable business solutions and recycling technologies. Even though Kenya generates 80,000 tons of electronic waste annually, only 2 licensed facilities formally recycle 400 tons, leaving the rest to be managed by informal actors with limited equipment or disposed without proper safeguards.
The EPR legislation passed here in Kenya, which is the legislation extended producer responsibility, which holds producers of waste accountable, or producers of the products accountable for their waste. And that's a really big chance to start professionalizing and growing the recycling sector here.
They should not see EPR as a cost to it.
but they should see EPR as something that is coming in to support their sustainability.
Well, the informal sector is very big here, so we need to kind of formalize the informal sector a little, appreciate what they're doing, what they're bringing to the value chain, because most of e-waste and other waste is recycled by informal recyclers.
Some people, especially the informal sector, they go for them to make a living. They dismantle these e-waste and then they extract the precious items. Incidentally, the precious items are very few.
Now, a technical committee has been constituted to oversee preparation for construction of the proposed 700 megawatts High Grand Falls project in eastern Kenya. Energy Principal Secretary Alex Wachira says the high-level team is at an advanced stage of formulating land acquisition modalities for the 340 billion shillings dam.
Kenya's peak electricity demand has risen to 2,363 megawatts on 7th of last month, powered by increased demand due to increased power connectivity. Energy Principal Secretary Alex Wachira projects electricity demand to continue rising due to the ongoing last-mile connectivity project targeting 1 million households. To enhance electricity generation, a technical committee has been constituted to oversee construction of the multi-purpose High Grand Falls Dam.
We are running short of time. We do need that power plant, and that is why we are putting up a high-level team to finalize how do we develop the High Grand Falls Dam.
We have extra energy, electricity energy. It will attract other investors and our economy will grow. Anybody who is serious and who wants to set up a huge power, manufacturing plant or whatever they want to put in, the first question, PS, I know, is how much power is available for us.
Land acquisition is among issues the technical team is exploring.
On cost, because that is the main issue with the High Grand Falls Dam, land acquisition, so that we leave the SPV, Kengen and alternative financing to do the dam itself and generate power.
Once complete, the High Grand Falls Dam will be the fourth largest dam in Africa, generating 700 megawatts.
JAD, the Ethiopian dam, being the first, the biggest. Julius Nyerere, Tanzanians just built Julius Nyerere at 2,000 megawatts, 2,200. Then us will be at 700. Then, of course, Kaluma Dam in Uganda at 600. And right now, Kaluma is at 400 megawatts already dispatching.
He says Kenya will leverage on public-private partnerships to enhance green energy generation. Benson Rioba, reporting for Prime Edition.
Where he comes from. But in his region, they don't look proposals.
We know. We already know the region.
You know the region and we agree. Kweli ama sio?
Kweli.
He lost his job. Well, yeah, immediately after.
After honeymoon.
Redeeming me.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunaungana na wanafunzi wa shule ya upili ya Mwiki Secondary ili tuweze kujua manufaa ya kilimo mseto.
Mi sababu ya kufanya agriculture ni kuna anko yangu alikuwa anafanyanga business na kanikaje nifanye agriculture. Juu inasaidianga.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi hii saa 10:30 ili upate mseto kamili wa kilimo hapa KBC Channel 1.
You are watching Prime Edition, and we'd like to get into the interactive session of this particular bulletin. And tonight we want to talk about food fortification. We want to talk about ensuring that Kenya is having a healthy populace through the food that we are eating so that we can manage the costs of running the economy. And to have this conversation is James Nyutu. He is the Group Chief Executive Officer of Unga Group PLC. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
We see a lot of the food that we buy in the retail stores written fortified. What does food fortification mean?
Fortification basically means the addition of minerals and micronutrients just to enrich the food that is being offered to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
And so where is Kenya right now? Because I know that there are some foods that it's mandatory that they are fortified. This includes fats and oils, there's maize flour, wheat flour, and salt. Where are we in terms of compliance?
So in terms of compliance, first the regulations on fortifications were implemented in 2012, which is about 13 years ago. And Kenya has made a lot of progress in terms of advancing the fortification of the foods you mentioned in this country. So I think we are at a very advanced stage. We also have various bodies that have come together, including the Cereal Millers Association, the TechnoServe, and other development organizations to be able to come together and uplift the levels of fortification in the country. And we are seeing a lot of compliance, a lot of self-regulation. People are becoming more transparent in terms of disclosing what they are doing and what they are putting in food. So I would say very, very advanced as a country. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a conversation a few weeks ago about this particular topic, and one of the challenges that came out was formalizing the small-scale millers, and that they do not reach the level of compliance that the large-scale millers have. What is your comment on that?
What I would say is that the small millers are coming up. They need to be supported. Of course, the bigger millers, including ourselves, are quite advanced in that journey. And of course, there are various challenges that the small millers will be facing, including access to technology, innovation, supply chains, and such kind of things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in terms of access to technology, you are, of course, one of the big guys. What can be done to bring the smaller millers on board? Because about 60% of Kenyans access their flour from posho mills. You know, you just take your maize that you got from your farm, you dried it, and then you go mill it. So how can we ensure that we are getting this technology to the small guys?
So the government, of course, I can't quite comment in terms of what the government is doing per se, but I know a lot is being done to emulate the bigger millers. And one of the things that is being done is for bigger millers to set an example. And that's what companies like Unga Limited, we are doing. And that's why we were able to participate fully in the just concluded Kenya Millers Fortification Index Awards, where we came up tops. So would be very much willing to lead the way and show other millers and other, upcoming posho mills on the way to go, so that they are fully compliant as well.
Right.
Yeah.
We know that, as you've said, the compliance is very strong among the big millers and the big producers. Yeah. And yet malnutrition is still very high in this country. Data shows that there's 29% of children under 5 are stunted in rural areas. In the urban areas, it's a little bit better, it's at 20%. Why is there a disconnect?
The disconnect is exactly what you said in the beginning. So that disparity between the ability to access fortified foods in certain areas of the population and the inability to access the same in certain areas. So that gap needs to be breached, and millers like us need to do better in terms of making sure that we are accessible, our products are reaching these areas, because our products are fully fortified. If you look at the packet, unfortunately I don't have one right now, but there's a sign that the government designed to be put on, affixed on packets, so that consumers can tell that those products have been fortified. So mine would be to encourage consumers to look out for that mark of quality and safety and nutrition.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that has come up in the recent past is the trust issues between, say, producers or the people who feed Kenyans and Kenyans, because sometimes food that has aflatoxin gets to the retail stores and people purchase it, and then recalls happen. and sometimes the damage is already done. So what is your comment in terms of the industry building trust? Because it does not, you might do your job as Unga PLC, Unga Group, but if there's a player somewhere, no matter how small, that does the wrong thing, when that trust is not there, even Unga Group will be affected. So what is your role in terms of an industry building the trust for people?
So as an industry, for us, we belong to the Cereal Millers Association.
Right.
And the association has its code of conduct for its members, and we are members of the association. So my comment would be to consumers to really reconsider where they purchase their products, ensure that they trust the source of the products they buy. Because as much as the regulators are doing what they can do to ensure that food is safe, food that you find in the shelves is safe, at the same time is to encourage all the participants in the industry and the industry players to be able to comply with the standards that have been set, and the standards are there, they are robust, they are effective. It's just a matter of full compliance so that we can all move together in feeding the nation.
Right. Yeah. Kenya has been importing some of its food products to meet the deficit. In terms of compliance, according to a conversation I had, there is not as much compliance in terms of the food that is imported as that which you produce and other producers produce locally. What can be done to improve that?
Systems and processes, that needs to be taken a notch higher, because it's very important that even food producers and millers like Unga Limited, what we have done is invest in systems and processes all the way from procurement to production, to how we go to the market, to our management systems and the people that we work with. So that needs to be taken very seriously, and for us as an organization is something we take very, very seriously. And as I said earlier, ours is to lead the way as thought leaders, lead by example, so that other players who are perhaps not at that level can be able to catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
What incentives or what kind of support would you want to see from, say, the government to be able to ramp up food fortification?
In terms of surveillance and monitoring, I think that can be done better. We can improve in that area so that all of us as players can come up to the required standards. So that support is there, and we thank the government for what they are doing. But also, because you mentioned about food that comes into the country, and also surveillance around what is entering the borders, I think if that can also be increased, that would ensure that whatever is circulating within the economy internally is also of high standards. Yeah.
We know that the cost of production in this country is very high. Manufacturers have been singing this song day in, day out, and it's reducing the competitiveness of Kenya's products. What would be your comment on that as a manufacturer? You are in that space. What is your comment on that?
In terms of competitiveness and reducing the cost of basically food, because that's and feed, because we also do animal feeds,
right,
is to look for other avenues where, and the government is doing that currently, where we are getting the benefit of reduced duty on certain imported grains like yellow maize, soybean, and soybean meal coming into the country. So those incentives are not always there, but when they come, they are welcome, especially to boost erratic weather patterns when it happens and we have a shortage where the humans, us and animals, are competing for the same grain, which is not adequate. So that is helping. There are other perhaps opportunities of becoming a more cost-effective country in terms of production, the cost of power, perhaps millers or manufacturers of food products perhaps can benefit from rebates, faster tax refund processing, and those kind of initiatives that ordinarily would be increasing the cost of doing business. And if they were removed, then manufacturers and millers would be much more efficient in their production.
Right.
Yeah.
How about now to the other side of the raw material that you need, increasing production in the agriculture space?
Yeah.
Is that something that, what is your thought on that? Because we say that there's a lot of unemployment in this country.
Yeah.
And the young people they're not farming. You know, the average age of a farmer is 60. And so how can we ensure that we are taking more young people to the farms and that they can contribute to agriculture?
Yeah, you're right. We need to have more investments into agriculture. And manufacturers also can look into ways of backward integrating, empowering farmers through trainings. Already some stuff is happening. The government is providing subsidized fertilizers, but when it comes to quality seeds and also coming up with programs that can benefit the farmers on the ground so that they have easy access to markets through networks, logistics, services, and for us we are also working towards that, just looking at how we can work backwards with farmers and entice more farmers, especially when it comes to grains that you don't find in this market, like soya beans. Currently, we are piloting with farmers in Homa Bay, in a small scale, just to see how we can come up with yields that would be, profitable even for them. So we are working with them and also speaking to other local institutions in terms of capacity building and assuring the groups that we work with that market will be there. And as long as the production is to standard in terms of the specs we need for grain, then we will offtake. So we are working backwards. It's still very early days, but hopefully in the coming months and years, we should be improved productivity at farm level. And also to encourage young people. If you look at how we import food in this country, there is much more we can do. So, and there is money in farming, definitely, as long as you do it correctly, as long as you do it to the required, to precision, so to speak, and to some scale, because subsistence farming does not always work. But for us, as Unga Limited, as Unga Group, we are there, and we are going to be supporting farmers.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms of beyond the farm, across the value chain, looking at innovation in agriculture, what can the youth involve themselves in?
There's a lot of innovation when it comes to, for example, use of data, analytics, looking at trends, forecasting weather patterns, so that, and when I said precision farming, when data is used to predict weather patterns and rainfall in the future, that can benefit when it comes to things like timing, when to apply the fertilizer, because you have an element of knowledge and some certainty as to when that should happen. So that's there. There is also conversation I'm aware of about the ability to use drones, for example, to do surveillance in farms, to pick samples and take them for quick testing, which ordinarily would take a lot of time in terms of travel and logistics and preserving the quality of the sample that you draw. So there's a lot that can be done using the current today's technology to advance farming.
Right, which is very important.
Yeah.
And of course, we are encouraging young people to take that up. And look at those opportunities. Back to food fortification, you mentioned about the Kenya Millers Fortification Index.
Yeah.
I'd like us to talk more about what that is doing for the industry.
Yeah. So that is a good initiative that's driving self-assessment for millers. And it's basically based on what they call the 4 PGs, which is procurement, production, people management, and public engagement. So that particular index is a portal where you go in as a manufacturer, as a miller, put in your data, which is the part of self-assessment. And then beyond that, there are experts in the industry that are supported by the partners that are involved, that come in and validate the data that you put, they check your systems, and beyond that, also draw samples from your production and take those for analysis in specialized labs that can do proper analysis, and then come up with an index, which is the performance of you as a miller. And as I said, it's a good initiative because it helps us to become more efficient, improve where we are lagging behind, and also others can also learn from those who are leading, so that overall the effect is better nutrition for the nation and the population.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we come to a close of the conversation, I'd like you to speak to Kenyans in terms of the importance of actually buying fortified foods or taking fortified foods, as opposed to, you know, the posho meal style, and how to ensure that you're just eating healthy.
Yeah, I think to Kenyans, what I would say is, you know, there are many benefits of eating fortified foods, all the way from young children to older, you know, adults, because you find that some of the problems that we see in the nation from a public health perspective is, you know, diseases and stunted growth in children that were malnourished when they were young. They was missing certain nutrients in their diets. So that affects the overall productivity of a nation. I was just looking at statistics recently, and you find that way back about 10 years ago, when the regulations were being brought forth in 2012, Kenya was losing about, you know, 6.9 to 10% of GDP because of malnutrition and because of hunger, so to speak. Because malnutrition is considered to be hidden hunger, because you're missing something. Mm-hmm. So that would help us to increase productivity as a country. That would help us to ensure that you know, people can prevent diseases that are caused by malnutrition, and also bring down the cost of overall health as a nation, so which increases the GDP. So mine is to encourage Kenyans to, you know, go for products you trust, go for, you know, those products that have been certified as fortified and good for your nutrition, and choose your millers and your producers. And you know, as I said earlier, Unga is leading the way, Unga Limited, and we are here to support and feed the nation. So that's what I said to Kenyans.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. That is James Newto, the Group CEO of Unga Group PLC, speaking to us about food fortification and why it is important for Kenyans to ensure that they are having the correct mineral as well as vitamin intake that is put into the foods that they buy. Well, that is the end of the conversation. We want to take a quick break here on Prime Edition. When we come back, more news in business as well as sports. Do stay with us.
Differently. Positive change is not always sudden. Sometimes it is achieved after a long period. What matters is the effort we put individually or as a group.
Most companies, you'll find that they're not employing persons with disability, which is a sad fact.
Tunalenga kupata vijana ambao wako na ulemavu ili waweze kupitia what we call inclusive internship program. Wakipata hizo skills ama taaluma waweze kujisimamia.
Differently able.
Mimi nilikuwa nataka shilingi 20,000.
Nimefika maji na wewe acha. Kwanza huyu kule kwa jokes box. Niko katika
sasa unaona
nini?
Wasikia mambo haya. Sisi tunapeana pesa, akasome wana peana pesa za biashara. Kumbe pesa zinaenda nini?
Wacha unafanya biashara na almasi inaleta almasi kutoka Zaire.
Lazekea humu na vituko humu.
Thank you for staying with Prime Edition. Now, African countries are being urged to harmonize tax policies to break free from austerity that is deepening poverty and inequality. Speakers at the regional UN tax convention led by Akina Mama Africa stated that most African countries grappling with debt and shrinking budgets have resorted to austerity as the default response.
Many African governments are faced with high debt burdens that led to budget cuts, often targeting public sector wages and social services. As a result, many African countries are struggling to uphold their social contracts, providing quality public services or finance development from domestic resources.
At times, these governments are faced with a lot of debt, and definitely debt servicing will take the first priority on our government revenues. So just maybe a case example, when you look at my country, Uganda, debt servicing consumes about 32% of the domestically collected revenues.
Speakers at the regional convening on UN tax convention led by Akina Mama Africa are calling for an end of austerity measures and fiscal consolidation, which they argue continue to be imposed on African countries.
If I can give an example here from Kenya, there was a removal of subsidies on fuel, and that immediately increased the cost of living, impacts everyone, especially those that are in the most lowest category of income levels.
You find that austerity measures usually apply on sectors and services that really affect the least of those. So that is why we are saying no to austerity. That's why we are saying no to harmful debt practices, and we call for equitable public finance management within the region.
While reduced spending plans are designed to ease debt pressures, they have instead tightened household budgets, with fewer teachers in schools and less medicine in public hospitals.
So this impacts women more because women tend to spend most of their incomes on consumables, goods like buying food and those kind of things. But also because already their incomes are so low, it means that the proportionate amount, the proportion of the amount they have to pay from their income is actually much higher than someone who is in the higher income category.
They are calling for regional strategies such as harmonization of tax policies to break free from austerity that has contributed to the deepening aid trap and dependence. Governments have also been urged to cut down on wasteful and unnecessary spending.
A lot of negatory expenditure that our governments face. We'll look at the size of our parliament, more than 300 members of parliament. And when you look at the size of ministers, they all have lead cars, they are consuming government fuel and all that. So for us, it's about, if it means austerity, would you reduce spending on the negatory expenditure, the medical tourism?
Weri Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Kenya is rallying the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa member states to eradicate non-tariff barriers. Trade Cabinet Secretary Lee Kinyanjui is also urging member states to harmonize trade policies as the bloc prepares to host the 24th COMESA Summit of Heads of State and Government in Nairobi next month.
Despite COMESA representing one of Africa's largest trading blocs with a combined population of over 600 million, interregional trade still lags behind its potential. Business leaders and policymakers have long pointed to barriers like cumbersome custom procedures, inconsistent regulatory frameworks, and roadblocks as hindrances to driving interregional trade.
They will be discussing issues relating to governance, peace, and security. Now, on the 9th, that's when we have the big D there, summit, and the summit is the head of state. There will be all the report of the various meetings will be converging and will be discussed by the head of state.
Trade Cabinet Secretary Lee Kinyanjui says Kenya will be pushing for the adoption of innovation and technology in addressing trade barriers. Kinyanjui says Kenya will be hosting the 24th COMESA Summit from the 8th of October at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
In mobile money and fintech is a case in point, demonstrating how digital innovation can drive financial inclusion and economic growth across the region.
The meeting will bring together 21 heads of state and delegation from across the region to address those long-standing challenges. Aside from trade barriers, the summit will also tackle youth and employment, agricultural trade, and regional investment opportunities.
Nairobi is all set for this summit. We have a tradition of being good hosts. And I'm happy that all the departments in government have all been aligned, and we have commitment that we'll be able to deliver a very successful summit for Kenya, for COMESA, and for the world. And we believe for the traders, especially those who are selling in markets within the COMESA, the conversations that will be happening here will be of utmost importance to yourselves. So you're most welcome for traders, policymakers.
Savings and credit cooperatives should consider reducing their dividends payouts and instead capitalize their SACCOs. Kenya National Police deposit-taking SACCO chairperson David Mategwa says high dividend payouts is eating into the amounts available for lending. Mategwa is also challenging SACCOs to enhance financial literacy programs targeting the youth to equip young people with the knowledge and skills to make informed financial decisions.
Educate your members. So education is very, very important. That you educate your members, it is important for them to understand that dividends should not be the benchmark of a performing organization, of a performing SACCO. It is the way the service you deliver to the members is what should be the benchmark. How fast can I take a loan? If I want a loan today, I want 5 million from Police SACCO, how long will it take me to get it?
Education sector stakeholders are allaying fears that the growing use of artificial intelligence will render people jobless. Management University of Africa former Vice-Chancellor Professor Washington Okeyo is instead urging Kenyans to embrace technology for enhanced efficiency and effectiveness of operations. Professor Okeyo is appealing to those in academia to use artificial intelligence in a more responsible manner.
When artificial intelligence tools first surfaced in Kenyan universities, many academics strongly discouraged their use, fearing they would promote exam malpractice and replace human effort. But now the tide has turned.
The thing is, artificial intelligence is coming in to introduce a lot of efficiency, a lot of effectiveness, and importantly, speed and accuracy with which data is being processed. And this cuts across the entire management system, the entire health sector, social sector, and all sectors of a country's economy.
You cannot learn the same way we used to learn. You have to make the learning interactive. It is only artificial intelligence which will allow you to be that innovative, to interact with the learners wherever they are.
Speaking during the Management University of Africa's Technology and AI Conference, Professor Okeyo said technology has proven to be an invaluable tool in research, learning, and administration.
It is important that we use artificial intelligence to improve on our processes, to improve on accuracy, to improve on effectiveness of the processes and the product that we are producing as a university, and of course as the entire academic sector.
As scholars, we need to also move with speed to see how we can accommodate artificial intelligence, but albeit ethically.
They, however, acknowledge that the technology can be misused, but argue that the benefits far outweigh the risks if students and institutions are guided on ethical use. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sasa kwa star 419 hash uko na game mpya. Tushinde spin corner. Simply spin. Kisha ngoja, na kwa entry moja unaweza angukia na uspin hadi mara 3. Na ikigonga 25,000 na kufikia instantly. Cheza spin corner sasa hivi kwa star 419 hash option 4.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sitatoroka tena.
Tutaenda hivyo nayo.
Kioko has you and Alex exactly where he wants you.
Kama ni mbaya, wacha ikuwe mbaya.
Maxine, uko poa?
Tumefungiwa nyumba, that's what it is.
Endo waambie ni mwape siku mbili watoke huko.
Keys to the new locks.
I should have let Alex throw your dad under the bus. Mzee wako wako wapi?
Kamresh, idea ilikuwa ya Jane.
She could be the key of maybe even keeping your dad from going to jail. Trish yuko wapi?
If you want my full cooperation, I need to have that immunity document signed and brought here.
Nawe mzee, hiyo deal ya Mama Jabali bado iko.
Yaani mzee kama Jemedai na hizo miaka zote zake, mtaka kumweka ndani?
I'm his lawyer.
Karibu. Ingia. Okay.
Four-time 1500 world champion Faith Kipyegon and newly crowned 10,000-meter world champion Beatrice Chebet remained on course for a double at the ongoing World Athletics Championship after the duo qualified for the finals of the women's 5,000-meter race in Tokyo, Japan. Meanwhile, the defending 800-meter world champion Mary Moraa and silver medalist Emmanuel Wanyonyi stayed on track in their gold hunt after qualifying for the semi-finals of their respective races. In the field events, 2025 world champion Julius Yego failed to make it to the medal brackets after he finished 6th in the men's javelin throw. After 6 days of intense competition, Kenya is ranked 2nd on the medal standings with 4 gold, 1 silver and 2 bronze medals.
She may have left a gap on the inside, but Beatrice Chebet.
World record holder Beatrice Chebet clocked 14 minutes at 45.59 seconds to win her heat and stay on course of winning her second title after bagging the 10,000 meters gold. Italian Nadia Bartocletti finished second in 14 minutes at 46.36 seconds, while Shelby Houlihan of USA wound up third. Defending champion Faith Kipyegon kept alive her hopes of retaining her title after qualifying for the final. Kipyegon clocked 14 minutes 56.71 seconds to finish second in her qualifier behind winner Ethiopia's Gudaf Segai. Faith and Beatrice will be joined in the final by compatriot Agnes Chebet, who also sailed through. The 5,000 meters women's final will be held on Saturday.
To this 800.
Elsewhere, defending champion Mary Moraa qualified for the semi-finals of the women's 800 meters race after clocking 1 minute 58.44 seconds to finish second during her qualifying round, won by France Anna Bagwin, who timed 1 minute 58.43 seconds. Moraa will be joined in the final by compatriots Sarah Moraa and Lilian Odira, who also sailed through from the respective heats. Lilian topped her qualifying round after posting 1 minute 57.86 seconds, relegating Dali Cooper Gasp of Cuba and Ethiopia's Woknesh Mesele to second and third positions respectively. Sarah Moraa, on the other hand, was guaranteed a place in the semis after successfully lodging an appeal for a shove during her qualifying round, which she finished 6th. The 800 meters women's semi-final is set to be held on Friday, while the final will be held on Sunday.
Men will produce the final semi-final in the men's 800 meters.
Meanwhile, Emmanuel Wanyonyi breezed through to the semi-finals of the 800 meters after finishing second in his heat that was won by Spain's Mohamed Atawi. Wanyonyi will be the sole Kenyan in the semi-final after his compatriots Kevin Kimtai and Nicholas Kebenei failed to advance.
The legendary Kenyan. Wow, is he okay? I think he is. Now, how big? How big?
Finally, 2025 world champion Julius Yego finished 6th in the men's javelin after registering a throw of 85.54 meters. Yego was forced to withdraw from the subsequent rounds following an injury sustained during the first throw. Trinidad and Tobago's Acacian Walcott was crowned the new world champion after registering 88.16 meters, while Grenada's Anderson Peters and America's Curtis Thompson won silver and bronze respectively. Bernard Okumu, Prime Edition.
And we continue rooting for the Kenyan team there in Tokyo, Japan, and hoping we get more medals. Moving on, Rising Starlets head coach Jacqueline Juma has unveiled her final 23-player squad for the second round clash against Ethiopia in their qualifying journey for the 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. The team is scheduled to leave tonight for their Addis Ababa.
Coach Juma has gone for a blend of youth and experience, drawing several players from the junior Starlets under-17 team that featured at the last year's FIFA World Cup in the Dominican Republic, like among others Rebecca Odato, Valerie Nekesa and Elizabeth Chaka.
Match focus sana sana ilikuwa kwa fitness level ya players. Some wamekuwa out for a very long time, wajakuwa na team, so kukuja kukamin pia kidogo imekuwa challenging for them now that tumekuwa na short time na the more tuna approach game intensity inapanda.
Among those making trip are goalkeepers Christina Dhiambo, Velma Abuire and Effie Wara. The squad also features attacking players like Diana Ochol, the experienced Emily Moronga and Elizabeth Mideva.
Target yangu ni tubebe 3 points away na tubebe pia home. Juu pia home na juu tutakuwa na mashabiki watatupea hiyo support, so hatuwezi taka kuwaangusha.
The Rising Starlets, who got a bye in the first round, will play the first leg this Sunday at the Abebe Bikile Stadium in Addis Ababa.
We are very confident that they will deliver for this country. We have taken enough steps as a federation to ensure that they are well prepared.
The return leg will be staged a week later on the 28th of September at the Ulinzi Sports Complex in Nairobi.
Batu support yenye ilikuwa ile ya CHAN tulifurahia sana, mafans walijaa, tukirudi home vile kulikuwa tu kuna bamba, tunataka pia hiyo support itatu motivate sana.
The winner of the two legs will advance to the third round of the African qualifiers to face either Tanzania or Angola in February next year.
And Kenya is set to host the World Under-21 Taekwondo Championships in December this year, bringing together over 500 players from more than 50 countries. While unveiling the local organizing committee for the event, Principal Secretary for Sports Elijah Mwangi said the hosting of the tournament on Kenyan soil was proof that Kenya has the capability to successfully stage both continental and global sporting tournaments. The Under-21 Championship will be held from the 3rd to 6th of December at the Kasarani Indoor Arena and will be a build-up for Team Kenya to the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles, where Kenya hopes to make a significant mark.
The sports industry is growing. Every other time we get international federations hosting international competitions in the country, it is a sign of approval that sports at the country by large has come of age.
Tuna mpango wa kupeleka hii timu ya chipukizi kwa sababu ni vijana wadogo hawajawahi kucheza. Tunataka kuwapeleka camp ya ng'ambo. Tumekuwa na agreement na watu wa Cote d'Ivoire, kuna camp ambayo ina ujuzi mkubwa wa Cote d'Ivoire. Tutawapeleka vijana huko wacheze, watoke huko wakija kucheza hii game, kwa sababu wengi hawana mazoea ama hawajacheza katika hizi nyanja za kimataifa.
African Rally champion Karan Patel will be seeking to wind up the season on a winning note ahead of the season-closing Africa Rally Championship Mkwawa Rally of Tanzania, scheduled to rev off tomorrow in Morogoro. Karan's hopes of winning a hat-trick of ARC titles was shattered after retiring during the Rwanda Rally in July, leaving the battle for the title to Kenyan champion Saman Vohra and Uganda's Yasin Nasser. Yasin is leading the ARC title race with 114 points, followed by Saman with 106. A total of 27 drivers from Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, and Zambia and the United Kingdom have confirmed their participation in the 338-kilometer FIA regional level event. The three-day event will be flagged off tomorrow at the Mkwawa Tobacco Processing Plant before the cars head to Tungi. On Saturday, the cars will head to the Tanzania Forest Services in Mkundi. Each stage will be completed in 2 loops before the rally concludes on Sunday. And in swimming, Kenya will host the 10th Africa Aquatics Zone 3 Junior, Senior and Master Swimming Championships at the Kasarani Aquatic Center from the 16th to 19th of October this year. It will be the third time Kenya hosts the continental event, proving the nation's ability to organize international competitions with precision and flair. More than 15 countries are expected to compete in the championship, including South Africa, which will bring together Africa's top junior, senior and masters swimmers, all chasing medals, continental glory and crucial World Aquatics ranking points. The championship has been sanctioned by World Aquatics and will also act as a qualifier for the World Aquatics Swimming Championships to be held in Beijing, China in 2026. And it was goals galore on match day 2 of the European Champions League, with holders PSG, 6-time champions Liverpool and 3-time winners Inter Milan all winning their opening league phase matches last night. Liverpool snatched a dramatic 3-2 win at Anfield, while PSG defeated Italian side Atalanta 4-0. Last season's losing finalists, Inter Milan, beat Ajax 2-0 in Amsterdam. In Munich, Bayern won 3-1 against visiting Chelsea, as Harry Kane scored twice, including a 27th-minute penalty, while defender Trevor Chalobah scored an own goal to hand Bayern the win. Chelsea's consolation was netted by Cole Palmer.
That's good defending.
Kane turns inside the area, goes down. Referee does not point to the spot.
And that story brings Prime Edition this night to a close. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Betty Kiptum and Lensa Odingo is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Do have yourself a lovely night. Bye-bye.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Dosi amelala, sukuma moja. Wewe pia ndio muoga. Ndio maana Master Demi ilikupita. Demi haiko nipita bwana. Mimi najaza entry ticket zangu. Wewe hata unajua namba ya kusenda. Sini star 419 has. Option 3. Ni Probox. Bwana finya hiyo kitu. Mfinye. Finya hiyo kitu. Nifinye. Finya hiyo kitu. Nifinye. Finya bwana. Probox kwa star 419 hash option 3. Fresh design ndani ya light commercial vehicle. Cargo space ni kubwa na kama haitoshi iko foldable backseat for more space. Kamera ni mbili mbele na kamera ni mbili nyuma. Injini yako ni 1500cc. Nguvu na picking guaranteed. Hii itakusabu. Whether ni familia, biashara, camping, ita come through. Fungua gate. Fungua gate. Fungua gate. Fungua gate. Wewe, saini saa ngapi unafungua hiyo gate? Ni watchman alikuwa anatoka na gari yake. Watchman? Ametoa gari wapi? Ya wasi amesinda kwa star 419 hash. Iko Probox kwa star 419 hash option 3.
Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Mbogo hawezi enda choo. Namchukua namkalisha ndo anaenda choo. Akimaliza naenda kumwaga, namtoa kwa ndo namkalisha. Hakuna kitu anaweza jifanyia. Bado Kevin tu naye hawezi fanya chochote.
Wao toka nje.
Hawezi toka nje. Sababu sasa watatoka aje?
Uliwazaa akiwa sawa?
Niliwazaa wakiwa sawa kabisa.
Sikujitakia kwa hii hali. Nimejipata tu. Ikanidhoofisha. Nisaidieni. Saa zingine hata kutafuna tu hii joo kutafuna. Nashindwa hata na kutafuna chakula. Nashindwa hata na kumeza. Daktari saa zingine nalala tu na uchungu sana. Sana kabisa.
Jeshi la Ulinzi la Kenya KDF linawatangazia zoezi la usajili wa Kenya ambao wangependa kujiunga nao kama wanajeshi. Zoezi hili litafanyika mwezi Oktoba mwaka huu. Usajili ambao utafanyika ni wa General Service Officers GSO, Cadets Regular and Graduates, Specialist Officers, General Duty Recruits, Tradesmen and Women na Defense Forces Constables. Je, una ndoto za kutumikia taifa la Kenya kama mwanajeshi? Kwa maelezo zaidi, tegea KBC Radio Taifa tarehe 20 mwezi huu wa Septemba. Punde tu baada ya taarifa ya habari ya saa 1 usiku. Kadhalika, kwa maelezo zaidi ya wale ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya, tembelea tovuti ya www.mod.go.ke. Kumbuka, tendo la hongo na ufisadi wa aina yoyote ni kinyume cha sheria na hakuna anayeweza kushawishi usajili wako, kwani zoezi hili ni la bila malipo kwa wale wote ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya. Ukikubali kuadaiwa, utapoteza pesa na mali yako na kuishia korokoroni.
Mpango wa Mungu juu ya maisha yako lazima ukuje kufikiana. Mpango wa Mungu juu ya jamii yako, mpango wa Mungu juu ya kazi ya mikono yako lazima ikakuje kutimia, hata kama unapitia vita za aina gani, hata kama ni vita za kiroho, vita za kimaisha, lazima mpango wa Mungu juu ya maisha yako uje kufikiana.